Well, it's that time once again. Our resident lawyer, Despina Priala of boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay, with us every Thursday to offer her legal expertise. She's even getting up an hour earlier now. She provides some general advice on the latest hot topics. She has experience that spans more than 25 years in the area of property and commercial law. She also prepares wills as part of estate planning and litigation. She's with us right now. Hi, Despina.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, Brooke.
Good morning, Desi. Welcome back. Short week this week, but of course, talking law on a Thursday morning. And this segment, I'm very excited to talk about because digital assets. You said you had some info that you wanted to share with our audience, but straight away, I thought, what on earth is a digital asset? I'm like, surely I don't have any of these digital assets. And then I had a little Google, and it seems like everyone who's probably over maybe even 16 years old has some sort of digital asset. So can you explain and just give us some examples what this is and why is it important to know how to navigate these, especially if you pass away?
Exactly. So that's what we want to focus on this morning. And it may be that people out there listening may say, look, what's a digital asset? Is it only Facebook? I don't have Facebook. I don't need to worry about it. It's actually far more extensive than what you think. And this is all about people wanting to make wills. So I've always said that people should make wills once you reach over the age of 18 years. And it's very, very important to do that. So this is just part of your estate plan. But what we're going to call it is it's your digital estate plan. Okay, and there's going to be reasons for that, which we'll talk about this morning, as to how the digital estate plan works with your overall estate plan. You should have your will, you should have your power of attorney in place, and don't forget a digital estate plan. So what are digital assets and what are we talking about? So let's go through, and there's a long list actually. You'll be surprised perhaps of what comes under the umbrella of digital assets. And I'm sure that people listening out there will go, oh yes, I think I've got one of those.
Yeah.
I'm about to list.
Or 20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or 20. You could have the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
So of course, we're talking about basic email accounts. Okay, because an email account's a digital asset. Of course, social media. And what are we talking about there? So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, I could go on. So that's part of your social media network. But then, of course, you've got online documents. You've got online banking accounts. You've got subscriptions, Netflix, Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, all of those. Cryptocurrency is on its own as well. So that's part of digital assets. What about accounts with eBay and Amazon? So I'm sure there are many people out there that have those accounts. Ebooks. Ebooks is part of digital assets, frequent flyer, flybys, PayPal accounts, online dating accounts, online gambling accounts. So the list goes on and on and on. And of course, the big one that people may always forget is your photos. Okay, so almost everyone has accumulated some form of digital assets over time. Some of them are monetary, they have the monetary value, of course, like PayPal accounts, for example, but some of them have sentimental value, like photos. So when you pass away, what happens to all those photos and all those posts that you might have put out there on social media? What happens to those accounts? And what's interesting in Australia is we don't actually have a specific law that deals with digital assets. So this is the big thing that people need to understand. When you have all these digital assets, you are using or going through service providers like Facebook, like Twitter, like Instagram. And each of those service providers have their own terms and conditions as to what happens to your accounts after you pass away. And of course, you might be surprised, or maybe not, that they're not all consistent. They all have different terms and conditions as to what happens. So this is what I want to talk about. What do you do about your digital assets when you pass away? And this is the important thing. People might say, will be listening out there and say, well, that's all very well, but okay, let's talk about how do I manage these? What happens to all of this information when I pass away? So you have a will, or you should have a will, okay? You've got an executor nominated in your will. What you don't want to do, I'll say from the get-go, is put in your will, for example, a list of all of your passwords and all of your usernames in all of your accounts that you might have.
Okay,
That's a big no-no.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that because the will often become a public document. So if the will gets probated, right, it's going to become a public document with all of those passwords out there, and you don't want that. Okay, so yes, it is. So people might think, oh, I'll just put it all on the will.
I thought you would. Yeah.
No. That's not what you should be doing. What you should be doing is creating a digital estate plan, which can be a document where you list all of the accounts that you have and all of your passwords and your usernames, etc. And that can be stored in a very secure place with your will or somewhere else, and you let your executor know where that is.
Gotcha. A separate document altogether with that.
A separate document altogether, yes. And you can imagine, as you may know, in this modern day that we live in with all of this cybercrime and fraud and all of this that's happening, we are reminded to change our passwords on a regular basis. So even if you did put it in the will, which you should not do, that's the message I want to get across quite clearly, then as your passwords are updated, there's no real point anyway in putting it in the wills, because we should all be updating our passwords every 3 months or 6 months. So then you can go to things like, well, what should you be using to secure your passwords? And people can get advice about that. But you do have things like storage tools. You have the secure password storage tools that you can use to put your passwords in, like 1Password or Password Manager, things like that. So that's very important, because you don't want those passwords to go astray when you start creating this digital estate plan. So part of that might be that you actually jump online, you have all your passwords in a storage tool that you control. But in terms of going back to the service providers, it's very interesting when you look up that each of them have different rules. For example, the big one, Facebook, and I will say the big one because a lot of people are on Facebook. And what happens on Facebook, for example? Now, interestingly enough, Facebook recently changed their policy last year, and I think that was because when people were passing away, anybody was contacting Facebook to say, yeah, I'm the next of kin, give me all the photos and all the content. And they would do that and shut the account down. And then you'd have the executor of the will going, hang on, where's all the information? They said, sorry, we've already been contacted by the next of kin. Yeah, so you can actually nominate what's called a legacy contact. So Facebook now allows that. So you can go into your account, and this legacy contact person you put in there to only come into effect after you pass away. And that person is allowed to manage your account, memorialize your account if that's what you want. Otherwise, the account can be shut down. There's similar rules on Instagram, but look, all of these have different rules and terms and conditions. For example, Apple. Now, most Apple products are on a subscription. If you're subscribing to that for your music, etc., it's basically on a license to use. So once you pass away, all of those will be shut down, typically. So the point to make is this. Your will that you should have in place should refer to you making a digital estate plan. It shouldn't list all your accounts and your passwords and your usernames in the will, but it should say, look, I've made a digital estate plan, and the digital estate plan will be held in a secure place that my executor will be aware of, or will be held with the will.
Gotcha.
And then after you're passing away, your executor, who should be the person that has the authority, can then go and manage these accounts and shut them down if that's what you want, or to keep them open to memorialize you after you're passing away if that's what you want.
And can any Joe Blow make their own digital estate plan, or is that something that you should go to a lawyer about along with the will?
I think you should go and see a lawyer about definitely your will. But part of that is, I've got digital assets. I want to make a digital estate plan. How do I go about it? And it could very well be just a letter of instructions that goes with the will, kept in a secured place, about what you want to have happen to all of these digital assets, which do have value, like I said, monetary or sentimental. So they do need to be thought of very carefully. And I think a lot of people haven't really given it that much thought. And maybe this might be a prompt for people to go and make that will.
Yeah, because of course we just don't think about it, and though you've listed right at the beginning of this segment just how many of these digital assets people have, because you might think, oh well, as you
I
say,
thought I had none.
You thought you had none, and you've probably got 10 or more.
I don't have any estate
Yeah.
online, but
A lot of
it's
people do.
or a plan
Everyone,
in place. It's
most
pretty
people
much
do,
an
yeah.
online account. So if you have any sort of online account, or even if you're a business owner and even have your own website or something, and you've spent years, putting that together, and it's your kind of your legacy as well. So
It
it's so
is,
important.
and it is. And the thing that the people need to understand is they might say, okay, aren't all my digital assets transferable anyway? I can just give them to someone in the will. No, not necessarily. Most of these service providers do not allow for the transfer of these accounts to someone else. It's either you shut them down and close them, or you can memorialize them for a certain period of time. Or like Apple, for example, the subscription's gone once you pass away and the license to use is revoked. So they're not transferable assets necessarily. You can't just say, I give my accounts to this person in my will. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So go make your will today. And part of that is go and talk about your digital estate plan as well.
Because you have digital assets and you didn't even know it. Coming up next, a few weeks ago, we were talking about the new land tax laws in Queensland. Desi said, these laws are ridiculous. They shouldn't be happening. Lo and behold, they've been scrapped. Yeah. We've got more details coming up on Talking Law. Stay tuned.